and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your host, Daniel.
And Daniel. And that's right, folks. For those who are listening to the audio side as well as the YouTube update, there is a new theme song for the Top 8 debate that we're going to be implementing now. We're going to separate each of the different podcasts that we do. This way you can tell which one is coming up and be interested and intrigued with what's going on.
Yeah. So we thought we'd throw in some new music, get a new style. Still same great podcast you know and love. If you've been enjoying it, nothing's changing there. In fact, today is one of our more exciting ones. We are stoked for this one.
I know I am.
Yeah. Longtime viewers of our podcast, you're very familiar with not only this format of our Top 8 debate, which we love arguing about these games, breaking it down to unequivocally, scientifically proven, no other way of misconstruing it in our opinions, fact of which games are the best, which I think we do a pretty good job of describing it. But
yeah,
not only this is one of our favorite designers that previously we've only ever done a board game breakdown of for. Now we get to do a top 8 debate.
I'm excited. We finally got enough games to do a top 8 debate. We've been wanting to do this designer's top 8 debates for quite a while. And yeah, I'm excited. So just to let everybody know, yes, you're still hearing echoey. If you notice behind me, my wall's changed. We're in the closer progress to be moving into my new house. So it's going to be a bit of a change for the next couple of weeks. We're going to be working on it. Hopefully we won't miss a podcast or maybe not too many. So there's that.
And if you listen to my audio, you'll notice it cut out a little bit at the beginning because I didn't have my microphone in the right spot. So, touche. That's the one up you somehow. And that'll be the last one of the debate. So
well, but we never even mentioned who we're debating today. You want to tell the people?
We didn't. Maybe we should leave it. I almost kind of want to just go right into it and then just see if people can figure it out without looking on Board Game Geek. But then at the same time, we'll just like one game. It's like, oh, he made this game, and then everybody's like, nope, all right, we already know it.
Yeah. So speaking of the designer, and that's what this is a designer. This is one of my almost instant buy designers.
Yeah.
Now I don't own almost all the games on the list. I've played, of course, every single one of them because that's one of our rules. But I know how like a lot of times we say in these top 8 debates, we have, I kind of like this one, or this one's just not my style, but I understand why people like it. All 8 of these games I thoroughly enjoy and love, and including the honorable mention that we're going to be talking about a little bit. The one honorable mention that got added, and there's a nice story to that one as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely be telling the story. Yeah, I completely agree. At first, like he was just like a blip. I saw his name in a few different spots, and then the more and more we started seeing his name, and we started playing the games, he hasn't hit a dud yet. And maybe some of the earlier stuff that we haven't played yet, because like some of his first printed, you have one that you own that I don't think either of us have played yet.
No, and it's funny because I just randomly found it. We'll talk about that a little later, but yeah, no.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, he's re-upped a lot of his games too. Like Archaeology: The New Expedition, which is on our list here, is a remake of one of his original games, and yeah, no, that game is phenomenal. The new one.
Absolutely. So we're looking forward to it. Now, yeah, it's almost an instant buy for me. I keep an eye on his page. Anytime I see a new game announced, I'm like, all right, I'm interested. There's even one game that's coming up on his upcoming games where it just does not look like the kind of game I would even enjoy. And I'm still willing to give it a try and probably buy it just to even try it, just because they've all been hits so far. So maybe this will be the one that's finally you do something not fun. About time.
Mr. Yeah, no, I mean, you got 8 games here that we thoroughly love. I have come up with 3 of the 3 honorable mentions. One of them I haven't played, but we'll get to that one in a minute. But that's 10 games right there, and I thoroughly enjoy every single one of them. If someone says, hey, let's bust this game out, I'm like, yes, all right, I'm down.
Yep, 100%. So shall we tell the viewers who we're actually debating over today?
Oh, and why not? It's one of our favorite designers. It's one of the best designers that have come seemingly out of nowhere. From the last 10 years, he's just been just increasing. And that is, I mentioned one of his games. So if you hadn't figured it out by then, it's Phil
Walker
Harding.
Wow, we did not plan that, clearly.
Nope.
You know, in a well planned out thing like you know, like Good Mythical Morning, like the other YouTube channels, they would have had that like synchronized, like no problem. They're all spelling Walker.
So
Walker Harding. Yeah.
I do have to say this. We talk about being Feld games. We love stuff on Feld games. We go and collect stuff on Feld games. I may not own all of these games, but I want to. I just haven't pulled the trigger on a lot of them. And I do. One of the games on our list here is a more complete set of another game. I do own the smaller version of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm gonna give like an honorable mention to my honorable mentions. I did not put Sushi Roll on my honorable mentions, and that's because it's effectively Sushi Go the dice game. Although I really like it, I probably like it better than Sushi Go the base. Probably not as good as Sushi Go Party. I wanted to bring it up just because I like it.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I actually own Sushi Roll now. I haven't got into it or messed with it because I bought it when Prime Deal was doing their thing, and that's when my games started going in boxes. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna have this. I'll save it for when we get to the new place, start busting all that out. Now that I'm gonna have 2 whole shelves instead of just the 1.5 that I've always talked about, plus an entire closet and possibly room to hold all my board games.
Right. Finally, you have an actual board game space.
Yeah, a whole bedroom is going to be dedicated to board games that we're turning into the office as well. That's where I'm going to record. So, like Danny here, I'll have like my board games behind me because that's the best way to put everything in that tiny room. But still, it's more than enough for an office space.
It's how nerds strut their stuff right here.
Oh yeah,
blatantly showing how the size of their collection.
So if you've been a fan of the show for a while, you've seen that I had it in my background before, but now I'm going to have like the full shelves in the background, and it's going to be nice. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, that'll be super fun. Looking forward to it. So let's talk about some honorable mentions. Speaking of honorable mentions, we had a few people add in some game or make some comments and talk about the Walker Harding. We only uploaded, or we only did this not too long ago. But we do also want to give another shout out. We have a new follower on our Twitch. That's Keyforge Premier League followed us on Twitch, which you said that they gave us a comment from one of our previous episodes.
Yes, so they mentioned the fact that when our most recent Chits and Giggles, where we did the compare and contrast between Magic the Gathering and Keyforge, and he I guess enjoyed it because he commented talking about Keyforge and how he wants more people to understand the nuances of Keyforge and stuff like that. Mind you, our compare and contrast is just a baseline. We're trying to take our bias out of it and just make it where more people are informed about what they're doing. And so he made a comment on that. I agreed with what he was saying. And thank you for the follow. Thank you for subscribing to us on YouTube as well. And I hope you enjoyed the show.
Good deal. Yeah. So quick shout out there. And let's go into the comments that we received from Facebook. Now, if you ever want to join in on one of our top 8 debates for Facebook and vote for your favorite games, we always post our polls on the Board Game Revolution community. It's a really big, thriving community. We just want to give them a shout out because, you know, they I don't even know if they know that we do this, but they see our polls. Everybody's always friendly there. It's a good community on Board Game or on Facebook. If you have Facebook and you like Facebook and you want to talk about games, that's a good one to do it on.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Sorry, I was just reading some of the comment or the couple comments in here, so I got a little distracted. This way I don't stumble over my words.
So we'll go ahead and get it started. Let's talk about the one that was added to our list, which is the only one.
Has one fan honorable mention. But you want to tell the people who added it to our list.
Yes. Friend of the podcast. I don't know if he actually is, but he's done a really good job. He's always added stuff. Kane Klenko, which another shout out, by the way. I have quite a few of his games actually. One over my shoulder, somewhere around here. I can't. Yeah, there it goes. Dead Men Tell No Tales. Yeah, no, he's an awesome designer, and I appreciate the fact that he added this game on because we're going to be talking about it a little bit more in a bit.
I don't
That's
know
a
what you're
game
talking
called Summer Camp.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it was kind of cool that that Kane Klinko himself added this to the poll. So that intrigues me. And that was the only one added in the honorable mentions from our audience. Mind you, again, we put this poll up a little late, but there was a couple comments.
That there was. So Kimberly started us off, and she's a moderator on the forum, and she said, "I have to say, Gingerbread House. My kids love it, and I also prefer the mechanisms, not mechanics, over Barren Park. Although I really like that one too."
I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, most board gamers interchange mechanism and mechanics. You have some weird issue with it because it's not proper English, so.
I mean, the mechanics are the ones who make the mechanisms. That's what it is.
And you're the only one with issue with it, but it's funny because you've gotten a whole group just to get used to saying mechanisms because you get on our case about it every single time it happens.
I've never got you to do it. I've gotten you to be annoyed by yourself doing it.
No, not by myself because I know I get annoyed because I'm like, if I say it, Danny's going to say something. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is, even when I'm not there, and you notice when you say mechanics, you're like, ah, darn it, Danny.
Yeah, because you got it stuck in our head because you beat us over the brow with it.
Yep. You're welcome. You're welcome.
And moving on to Graham. His pick is Barren Park because it's a great mix of accessible theme, fun, looks good when you finish, and we enjoy it in their house, or they enjoy it in their house.
Very good. Cool deal. So, those are our two comments. Thank you so much for adding those comments in. Daniel, I think we're ready just about to go into this. But before we do, let's talk about how we actually break down these debates.
Okay. So there's 5 criteria that we have to follow for us personally to at least take as much bias as we possibly can out of these games. The first of those 5 criteria is ease of play. And this is the simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism, as well as the likelihood of it getting to the table, whether it's through the mechanism, say a deck builder, or the theme itself, say bears, people like bears. As well as, is it likelihood to lead to making it prone to analysis paralysis? What we mean by that is someone's turn taking too long because there's way too many choices and they're stuck? Their brain just breaks because they can't figure out what they want to do for the next turn, which pulls the game to a slow start. That's a negative, basically. So if, say, something like Emotep makes someone break the game and it's going up against archaeology where it's boom, 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 and done, then it's a plus for archaeology rather than for Emotep.
Yeah, absolutely. Then the next one is art and production. How good is the art? Which we know is subjective, but some art and some companies make just obviously better art.
Honestly, if Phil Walker Harding made an Alea game versus like a Renegade game, man, that's going to tell you right then and there which one's going to have the better art.
That's right. And then the pieces and components. Do they have good quality pieces? Is the cardboard nice and thick? Does it feel good? Does it help with the gameplay experience by not having to shuffle like thin cards?
We'll get into a little bit about that later.
Yep. And then finally, the graphic design. How well does the graphic design help your players play the game? Is it icon heavy? Is it word heavy? Are you having to read a paragraph of tiny font every time? Or is the thing colorblind friendly? Is it icon hell, as we've seen sometimes in some games?
Oh, yeah. The next criteria that we follow through with is replay value, the length of time and the scaling of the game. Does it play relatively the same between 2 and 4 players? And does it take a lot more time between 2 and 4 players? Does it add way too much time during that scaling? As well as the minimum number of plays to get through the whole experience of the game. Some games, like most trick-taking games, you can get that experience right there. You know how to play it the first time you play it. Doesn't mean you're actually good at it, but you know how to play it. Whether there's more to it, like a campaign game, case in point, Gloomhaven. There's about 100 scenarios. How many games are you going to get the full experience of that game? So that could be a plus or a minus for some games, as well as expandability. And what we mean by that is if it's already got one existing expansion or expansions, up to one possible future expansion that we believe is coming out. So our biggest one that we use for this is Space Base. There's a volume 1. We're assuming there's a volume 2, so we're going to give that to it. Or if the expansions have either been confirmed by the designer or the publisher.
Yep. Next one is meaningful choice. How well does your strategy impact the other players? Because it's not just about winning, it's about making other people lose. Well, this is a cooperative game. Like, how well can your strategies affect others? Or are you just playing multiplayer solitaire, is another term that has been thrown around before. Yeah. How well can you impact your long-term strategy? Will the choices I make now matter later in the game? And if so, will the choices I make now hurt me to the point where if I make a mistake now, will I be destroyed for the rest of the game? And then it doesn't matter at that point. And then finally, non-arbitrary choices. This is an interesting one because oftentimes there are some games where you could be like, well, okay, nothing's really good, so just guess here's a random choice that gets played, or like random luck-based stuff like dice rolling. It's like, well, let's just see what happens. Or are all the options too good where it doesn't mean, or where nothing you do is specifically better than others because they're all good, so therefore it still doesn't matter what you pick.
Exactly.
That does matter.
Now, there is 2 more criteria on our list, but one of them only counts for tiebreaker purpose, and I'll let Mr. McKinley over there say it. And that is, but next up here is game immersion. This is another one that we have to go with, and that it means, does the game fit the category best, or does the theme match the mechanism? Well, since we're not doing a category, does the theme match the mechanism is what we're going to have to go with here. And therefore, like, do you feel, case in point, we're going to talk about one of the games here, archaeology. Does it feel like your archaeologist going through the sands and finding all this stuff to sell to a museum? Does that come through? As well as player interaction. And what we mean by this is the table talk. Are you getting into character? Are you really enjoying what you're doing that you believe you're such and such character in the game? And finally, memorable moments. What are those things that's going to make you stand up and yell across the room and make everybody turn their heads because something amazing happened in that game? That's what we mean by memorable moments.
And then finally, if all else fails, if Daniel and I cannot make an agreement on one of these categories or just which ones win, if there is a tie, that's where you matter. That's why we make these polls on the Facebook page, and those votes are going to be our tiebreaker. So that is the last of the categories. And I think, Daniel, you and I are ready to talk about some honorable mentions. Let's talk about the games that didn't make the list.
Oh, I'm excited about this. So this was a little hard because even though he's prolific, there's not a lot of games that we couldn't put on this list because, for one thing, we do need to make mention Sushi Go is not on our list because we made the call way back when that if they're very similar or an upgraded version, which Sushi Go Party is on our list, then Sushi Go cannot be on our list. Now, I didn't make it an honorable mention, but we just wanted to explain why there's only one of something. The adventure games, that's another one that's on our list. There's 3 out right now, plus more in, I think, Germany. They're not on our list because we have one on our list. So this way it's not bogged down with basically the same game.
Right, so, exactly. Like if we were playing, like, unless there's something specific, like the top pandemic games, yes, then we could debate those. But if we have Pandemic and Pandemic Legacy on the same list, let's have some more fun debating instead of it boiling down to which one is the better of the two, because we're going to have to debate that anyway.
Yeah,
might as well exactly. Just solve that problem now. So I have my coin of doom, as always. We're going to see who starts off our honorable mentions first. Daniel, I'll be starting this time.
Sounds good to me.
So my number 3 honorable mention is a game called Cacao. That's one of the few that Daniel has not played. And it's an interesting game because it's kind of like a tile worker placement game. But what I mean by that is there is these tiles that you're going to be placing down, and the tiles have layouts of different numbers of meeples on them. Well, why that matters is because you're going to be making like essentially a checkerboard. Whenever you place down one of your worker tiles, if it creates a spot with 2 walls, then you're going to put in one of the action tiles in between it, which could be as simple as getting money or getting cacao or selling the cacao for points, or going into the mine, whoever has the most workers, or other little special things like traveling down the river. All these cool different abilities where you're going to be kind of checkerboarding throughout as you place your workers. Now, when you place on the tile, let's say, for example, I have a tile like this. That's a square tile. It has 3 workers on this side, 1 worker on this side. Well, the tile that I face the 3 workers to, I get to take that action 3 times. The one that has the single one facing, I get to take that action only once. Both of the other sides that don't have any meeples, I just simply don't take that action. But that might be part of my strategy. You can only hold so many. If I already have like all but one of my spaces filled, well then I'm probably not going to spend all my workers to get more cacao because then that's wasted. But then I also don't want to sell more than what I have because that's also wasted. So finding this cool little balance as you're placing these tiles down as kind of like a weird little worker placement game, it's absolutely brilliant. I like it a lot. I do have one of the expansions for it. I have not hit it yet. Daniel, we're gonna have to fix this because I really think this would climb up your list. Whenever I'm not talking about the game, I always kind of like take a backseat. It's like, well, I don't know, maybe it's not that good. But every time I start talking about it, I'm like, wow, why haven't I played this more? And that's kind of what I'm feeling right now.
I do have to try this in a minute, and I'm gonna put a quick pause real quick.
Yep.
All right, so that's an interesting.
Know.
Cacao, that was a good pick. I really enjoyed it. But my first pick is actually a part of a series and one of the games we're going to be talking about in the top 8 debate. Mind you, again, I had to talk about this, how it was going to be a little bit difficult for me to come up with choices on this one, because even though he's been prolific, he's still only have a small amount of games on this list here. And one of them is a series, and that is the adventure games, Monochrome Inc. For me personally, and I've played 3 of them, not one all the way through just yet, but I have played the one that's on our list and this one all the way through. This is my favorite so far of the 3. In this one, you're a group of 3 thieves infiltrating a research company, and you're trying to find out what they're up to and steal something. I want to be as vague as possible because it is a campaign story, so don't want to be giving a lot of spoilers there. It's a great game with a lot of interesting choices that you get to make. If you really enjoy like the point and click adventures back in the day on the computers, I think you need to give the series a try, and we'll talk a little bit more about it when we talk about adventure games, the dungeon. But I don't want to go too much into it because we are arguing a predecessor in this debate. So my number 3, the honorable mention, is adventure games, Monochrome Inc.
Good deal. My number 2 is a game that came from Blue Orange fairly recently. I believe it was last year. And it's an incredibly simple game. It is called Cloud City. On your turn, you're going to be taking a tile that'll have technically up to 4 spots. 2 of them will be clouds, 2 of them will be building spots. Basically, you're building these skyscrapers into the sky and building tunnels between them. The farther the distance between the tunnels, the more points they're potentially worth. Starts off with just being one space away, it's worth 1 point. 2 spaces away, 2, then 3, then 5, and then 8 points as you extend farther out. You're basically only going to be making a 3x3 grid or up to a 3x4 grid for 3 or 2 players. On your turn, you simply just take one of the tiles you have, place it next to a tile you've already placed, put the buildings on it, and then at that point, you can connect tunnels from those buildings to other buildings that you have previously placed. The catch is each building has a height as well. There's brown, there's blue, and there's gray, I believe, or maybe green. I am colorblind. Those colors are awful. But the game, at first, you think it's like, well, okay, this is just really simple, but there's some nuances to it. First off, of course, buildings of the same height, they have to connect to other buildings of the same height. Well, the ones that are short, those can go under the medium ones and under the large ones, and they can kind of interweave, but obviously no tunnels can go through buildings, so you have to work out that little puzzle. And tunnels of the same height can't go across the same space because, they wouldn't be able to fit on each other like that. So you have this cool little catch of trying to balance when you can place the bridges, when you want to try and push your luck and really make sure those go out farther. Because once the buildings have been placed, you have to be able to place the bridges to them, not from them. You can't just place bridges anywhere you want at any time. So at first, I thought, when I first saw this game, I was like, wow, that looks amazing. I can't wait to try it. I bet there's all sorts of great strategy. And then when I read the rules, I was like, wow, that's it. There's really like, you place a tile, you put the corresponding buildings on it, and then you may build bridges. That's it. That's really all the rules. It's like no joke. And I thought, it's like, man, this is probably his simplest game. Like, it really is. Like, I think it's simpler than Sushi Go Party, honestly, because Sushi Go Party has different ways of scoring. But you're doing something as simple as drafting. You're just putting a tile down, and then that's it. And so at first I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to be too simple. Then I played it with my son, and it clicked. I was like, wow, I get this now. Trying to find where you're going to weave in and out those tunnels at the right timing, maximizing the points, timing it well too, because there's only a limited supply of each of the tunnels. I'm really impressed by it. I don't know. It has no right being as fun as it is. There's really no reason. It's not okay, but it's really good. So anyway, that's my rant. Cloud City by Phil Walker Harding and Blue Orange. Awesome game.
Yeah, no, I've been looking at this because when I was going through this list, I'm like, ooh, I didn't see this one. And then I looked at it. I'm like, oh, I remember. You've told me this one before. And I'm like, I'm honestly, again, Phil Walker Harding is someone that's on the must buy. There's several games on this list that I'm going to pick up if I just pull the trigger on it. There's just so many other games that I've been forced to buy because I wanted them. And I could still play the games on this list, including that one, since you do own it. The next game on my list is one I haven't played, but it's the one we were talking about the most recently because you keep trying to take it from me. And that is one of his earlier games, Pack of Heroes. I own it. I haven't played it. In fact, I actually thought I had sold this, and without thinking, just because this was before I realized how much I like Phil Walker Harding games. And I couldn't find it. And for the life of me, we were getting some stuff, and I was looking for something like a DS game or something like that. And I found it in the box of DS games in our closet. And I was like, well, no wonder I thought I got rid of it, because it was packed away in a box full of DS games. And so what it basically comes down to, and this is from BGG as I was making my script for this, is that you're two teams of superheroes fighting it out using the power card system, which is described as having all the excitement for dice combat and far less random. So I'm intrigued to get this to the table. I do want to try it. Again, it's a two-player game, so it's been difficult, and especially since I thought I sold it 2-3 years ago and knew I had it at one point in time, and then find it like in April and just haven't busted it out yet. And no, Danny, you cannot have it.
That's all right. I'll eventually steal it. We'll see. And then my final one, you and I have, I'm sure, the same final one. And so I'm going to tell the story real quick for our listeners. So rewind to a couple weeks ago. Daniel came over for a game night, and we figured, let's just hang out and play some games. We invited another friend of ours. And when they all showed up, I told them, I was like, there's this game. It's a new game that I'm thinking about buying. And they're like, okay, all right, cool. Like, where is it? I said, Target. It's not Target. It's not on the shelf yet. They have it in the back. I'm really strongly considering buying it right now. And they're like, okay, cool, whatever. I was like, it's a Phil Walker Harding game. They're like, okay, go on. And so I ended up placing the order. We played a game, and then we went to go pick it up from the store because it was available. And while we were in there, you got a game, but that's beside the point. I came back, I busted it open, and we played it immediately. There was 3 of us. Daniel took the first turn, our friend took the second turn, and I took the third turn. Before it was even my turn, before I had taken my first turn, Daniel looked over at me. Do you remember what you said?
Damn it, now I have to buy this.
Yep. You're like, I already dig this. This is, you were just so stoked. Just learning how to play it, going, okay. Knowing it's Phil Walker Harding, making something like a deck builder, and then looking at all the pieces, the components. Buffalo Inc., I think that's their name, Buffalo Games. They did a phenomenal job of making those tokens. There's only one argument that we have against it, and that's the card quality, which is it's a little too thin to be a deck builder.
Yeah, for a deck builder, it's bad card quality.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, everything else is really solid. It's a racing deck builder game. Daniel, I'm taking up the whole thing. Go ahead and tell us. I'm sure this is your one.
Oh yeah, that's my number one. King Klinko already mentioned it. We haven't even said the name ourselves, and that is Summer Camp. Okay, this
Summer
is
Camp.
the most recent game we have started talking about in this podcast. We talk about a lot of games, like what's our hot right now. We talked about this last week when what have we been playing, and how we made our own little meme about it. Like three other guys. One didn't even play the game, but yet we kept trying to steal your version of Summer Camp. It would be snuck into bags, moved across the table, seeing if you would notice. And so we had a good time doing that. But then after it was over and I went home and I was hanging out with the wife and sitting there and I'm like, God, I really like that game. I really dug it. So I looked online. I'm like, okay, yeah. I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday, the wife's like, hey, I want to order some food. Let's order from Olive Garden. I'm like, wait, but that's right by Target. And so I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to do another pickup before we go do that pickup for the food. And so I actually placed an order on the app for Summer Camp, and it was ready right when our food was ready. So I was able to go and pick that up and then pick the food up and go home.
Yep. I think, and this isn't even the first game that I've done that to you with of Phil Walker Harding's.
We'll talk about the other one.
Yeah, there's been at least two where I've shown it to you, and then you had to go buy it immediately after.
Yeah, and so our little fun story there, but it's a very simple deck builder, and it's a race. It's not most points at the end of the game wins, but it's a race because your in-game trigger is racing your campers to the end of the line. It comes with 7 boxes in there. You play with 3 per game, so there's some variability right there. It's got great art for what it is. Simple art, but still great. The mechanism just works so well for the theme too. It's phenomenal because it's something different. You don't see summer camp themes like you're a camper back in the day going to these summer camps. So you're doing the outdoors, you're doing the games, you're doing all that stuff that most people did as kids when they went to summer camp. I never went because I played sports. So, but it's good. Again, my only gripe with it is the cards are flimsies, and there's a way around it. Just to get some good card sleeves. It's one of the few games I'll probably end up sleeving just because I know it's going to get played a lot. That's how good it is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It was that phenomenal. So huge shout out to Summer Camp. Kane Klenko knows what's up. We know what's up. It's so good. If you like any of these other games, that's really just something you need to try because he has an ability to really shrink down and make any game just like the most condensed, purest form of what it is and make it that much fun.
I think I equate Phil Walker Harding to the new Dr. Reiner Knizia, where he just boils down to the basis of the mechanism and then builds a fun game around that. Summer Camp, pure and simple, is just a basic deck builder, but then surrounds one of the most amazing games I've played this year.
Yeah.
For a simple deck builder.
You know, my wife, she likes deck builders, but she rarely plays games with me. And I had to guilt her pretty hard to try this. And we tried it with a friend of ours, and it was us 3, and she was half asleep, which I already knew was just going to be recipe for disaster. But she's like, I'm ready to try it. Didn't look like she was having a bit of fun. We finished the game. She lost. I ended up winning. And then I asked, like, so what do you think? She's like, I really loved that game. That was really good. I'm like, yes, it happened. Yes, I fought the tiredness. I poked the bear. And she still enjoyed it. It was so great.
That's saying something about Phil Walker Harding because honestly, every game I mentioned on this list, except for what you would call it, the one I haven't played, Pack of Heroes, and Summer Camp because my wife hasn't played it. Every game that I've played that she's played on this list, she loves. Archaeology and Silver and Gold is like one of her favorite games just to bust out when it's just we need something to go low. Like we go over to our friend's house and go swimming. Those games we just bust out and have fun when we're taking a break from the pool and have a great time with them. And I think Summer Camp is going to be another one of those where we just have fun with it.
Yep, absolutely. He's a prolific designer. But enough talking about how awesome he is. Let's talk about which awesome he is. Let's get
Yeah.
into our debates. We have picked 8 games off of BoardGameGeek.com. The way we have picked them is we sorted it by him, and then we sorted by the BoardGameGeek.com rankings. We took the top 8 games that Daniel and I have both played and put them as our top list. Why do we only choose the ones we've played, Daniel?
Or we can make a sound argument, in all honesty, because we know the mechanisms. We're familiar with how it works, what's going on. We've played it. We can make a knowledgeable decision on how we feel about the game, especially when it comes to breaking down our criteria. It's important for us to have that. This way we can make sound arguments for which way this brackets break down.
Yep. We're going to try to do our best to take our bias out of it. But with that bias, there's obviously some obvious fun and enjoyment that we've seen. Let's get into this. Our number 1 highest ranked is Sushi Go Party.
And again, as we mentioned at the top of this, Sushi Go is not on this list because Sushi Go Party is. And honestly, if Sushi Roll made this list, we probably would have eliminated that as well because we take the highest rated game out of that family, basically. And it will be going up against our 8 seed Gingerbread House.
Yep. And our number 2 seed, Barren Park.
Going up against our 7 seed Adventures Games, The Dungeon. Now, we do have to make a caveat for this as well because this is a co-design by Phil Walker Harding with another one of your favorite designers, Matthew Dunstan, isn't it?
Yeah, he's climbing the ranks. I've been playing a lot of his games lately, and they get good. He got good. Number 3 ranked Gizmos.
Going up against our 6 seed Archaeology, The New Expedition.
And our number 4 seed Imhotep.
Going up against our number 5 seed Silver and Gold.
This is going to be a hard one. I truly believe this is going to be one of the hardest ones that we.
I honestly think this is one of our first top 8 debates where I love all 8 of these games. I've played certain ones more than others, but I never wouldn't say no to a single one of these games. If someone says, "Hey, let's play Sushi Go Party," I'm down. Let's go.
Yep, 100%. I'm in. All right, so let's start off with the first one. Daniel, you have your cup of doom with you? Good man. And I have my coin of doom. So the way we do this is we put in the 2 that we're debating, Sushi Go Party and Gingerbread House. Daniel will mix up the cup of doom. I'll flip the coin of doom. If it lands on tails, Daniel will start the debate for whichever one he draws. If it lands on heads, I will start the debate. And we have to make an argument for that game. And I will be going first. And I know which one I hope I get. Please. Please.
I know which one you want to get, and you didn't get it.
Sushi Go. Okay. Well, no, I mean, they're both good.
Yeah.
I really like Gingerbread House. But, I mean, clearly, as you look over my left shoulder, Sushi. So, Sushi Go Party, though. I do own this one. I like it a lot. It took everything that was awesome about Sushi Go and made it modular, added in a whole bunch of variability. You set out your menu. Everybody has little soy sauce bottles as their point markers. You play over 3 rounds. That changes slightly. You take a couple appetizers, a few main entrees, a dessert, and you mix them up, as well as like a couple special items, shuffle up the cards, and deal a certain number to all players. Everybody looks at their hand, and it's incredibly simple. The whole game, you just take a card, put it face down. When everybody's picked their card from their hand, you reveal, and then pass the remainder of your entire hand to the player on your left. You do that again until everybody's chosen all of the cards. So everybody has the same number of cards. You score those cards at the end of that round, and they all score in different ways. What makes this interesting is he made a sushi-themed game thematic. And what I mean by that is that, of course, everybody wants all the sushi,
Yeah.
If you like sushi. I don't like sushi, so I don't care. But I understand the people who like sushi want all the sushi. And I get that. Well, to a degree, right? But each of the sushis score in ways that make sense to the sushi. Like tempura is a great example. By themselves, they're not worth any points. But if you have a pair of tempura, 5 points. Same with sashimi, you want 3 slices of those. By themselves, nothing, but 3 of them, it's 10 points. Then you have nigiri, which is egg, sushi, or I don't remember the third one, bacon. Not bacon, but let's say bacon nigiri. It's either 1, 2, or 3 points by itself. But if you play a wasabi first, you're gonna triple whatever your next nigiri is because
Yeah.
you add that extra kick of flavor. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you have cool things. I'm just talking about the base one. You have dumplings. The more you have of the dumplings, the more points they're worth as a set. Uh, Dessert is scored at the end of the game, which makes sense. You have to have your
Hmm.
dessert at the end, and it's whoever has either the most or least dessert gets either 6 points or minus 6 points. And that's just the base game. In Sushi Go Party, you have like 25 different things that you can use in the game that score in different ways. And they're very simple forms of scoring.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the fact is, like, all you have to do is look at it and go, okay, well, I see there's a lot of pudding, so maybe I'll go for that. Or maybe I'll take these fruit that score in different ways, if you have each of the different types. Or maybe I'll score my dumpling. Since I see there's a lot, I'll start stacking up now and hoping, or maybe I can get the sashimi in here. It's brilliant. I like the tofu is probably my favorite one, or eel, one of the two. I think it's tofu, right? The one
I
where
can't remember in all honesty.
if you have one of them, it's 2 points. If you have two of them, it's worth 7 points. But if you have three or more, it's 0 points because you just had way too many.
Oh yeah, because it's what is it like? One, it's good. Oh, two, it's great. Okay, I've had way too much of this. Now it lost its flavor.
Yeah, I just don't enjoy this anymore. I love that. That's amazing. This is straight up a hilarious game. And then you have stuff like chopsticks, which lets you steal cards from other players or play more than one. A menu, which lets you choose a card, like chosen kind of at random. Like all these different other little side abilities that you can throw into the mix. It's a brilliant game. I'm glad that they made it. I can't wait for them to make the third iteration of it, where it's like Sushi Go Megaplex, like, and it has different cards, and you're playing.
Sushi Go chain restaurant.
Yeah, Sushi Go chain restaurant. Yeah, it's a really smart game. But that's
What
Sushi
I,
Go Party. The reason it's top.
why do I what I have to say about Sushi Go Party is what I like about it when you're making it variable and you're putting the different ones in there. You're basically making a menu board. So when you're putting the cards in there, you're also putting them on like a menu. Say this is what tonight's menu is in essence. So these are the cards that you're going to be drawing from that everybody can see. And I thought that was like the simplest thing. Now, I have one major gripe about Sushi Go Party, and it's not even the game itself. It is the stupid tin that it comes in because Game Right decides, hey, let's put tins. They're fun. That is not even a knock on the game. I just hate the packaging it comes in because I'm not a fan of tins. They're hard to store because you can't put anything on top of them. They're going to dent. If they fall off the shelf, they're going to dent. I don't even keep my Sushi Go in the tin. I keep it in the I have like a photograph carrier that has like small games in it because of the tin. But other than that, I think it's an amazing game. The production quality is good. Not the best in the world, but again, you get what you paid for with Game Right, and they want to keep the cost down, so they're not going to give you like these triples, whatever card, 3mm thick card stock or something like that. They're good. I think the card quality of this is better than Summer Camp, but it's not the best in the world compared to some other the games on the list. But that being said, I get to argue Gingerbread House, and this is the second game on this list that really went top notch for me when it comes to Phil Walker Harding. And the first one being, we're going to talk about it a little later, being Barron Park. Barron Park is really what put him on the map for me. This was the follow-up after Barron Park. No, I played Sushi Go Party. I just didn't think about the name, or Sushi Go for that matter. But Barron Park, I'm like, okay, this is good. And then we played Gingerbread House. And I was like, that's it. I have to start looking at more of his games. And we started playing more. And that's when he became a big hit for me. And the reason why Gingerbread House is so good, it's basically you're playing in a 3x3 grid. You're putting out dominoes. Simple as can be, but there's so many ways to get points, whether you have the highest building or you got the most super or fairy tale heroes and they're coming to you, or you got the combo between the fairy tales. Like if you got Robin Hood, you get someone else with there. It's phenomenal. And the thing is, I just talked about it with Sushi Go. The production quality is good at a low cost. It's not great by any means. This, however, is a great production for such a low cost game, because I think you could get it for at different periods of time for under 20 or under 40. I think if you catch it on a deal, you can get it really cheap. Yeah. And it's, again, when we talk about our art and it's subjective, I love the art in this. It's really whimsical. It fits the theme very well. The variable ways to score really help lead to a lot of meaningful choices out there. There's a lot of game in such a small box.
One of my favorite things about the art on this, and I just want to bring this up because I don't know if it'll make it past this round. This wanted poster that's on the cover, that is Phil Walker Harding.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like I said, it's very whimsical. It's a great game. I have a great time with it, but in all honesty, if I'm gonna be fair, I'm gonna have to say Sushi Go Party just gives a little bit more and it moves on.
That's a tough one for me.
Mm-hmm.
I get why Sushi Go Party is as popular.
Out of the two of these games, I prefer Gingerbread House. Me personally, I like the game and I like the art style on it. However, the reason why Sushi Go Party gives me the go ahead is because I can get more non-gamers to play Sushi Go Party than something like what is it? Gingerbread House. Case in point, our Bryce, who's been on the show, his wife adores Sushi Go Party. They do like sushi theme nights when they play that game. Friends of mine that I mentioned that we go play swimming with, they really enjoy Sushi Go Party. They have a great time with it. They're one's a gamer's wife, and I play board games with them. However, I just think because of the variability in the fact that you can get more people because of how simple Sushi Go is, I think it's what needs to move on.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I was like, well, I think there's more evenly matched than at first. But then I think game immersion, Sushi Go Party really is, it does feel thematic for being a sushi drafting game, which makes no sense. But it is thematic for that, more so than building a gingerbread house and collecting tokens. But then also ease of play, handily for that. But then I think what sets it apart is replay value.
Yeah, because of the variable setup. If we were going Gingerbread House versus regular Sushi Go, I think Sushi Go would have a lot harder time to move on. But because the variability of Sushi Go Party, you get to pick and choose what you're putting into the game. Yeah.
Yeah, that hurts. But I agree. Gingerbread House is the one I prefer of the two, hands down. But I do agree with you. I think Sushi Go Party needs to move on. Which brings us to round number 2. Baron Park versus the Adventures games, The Dungeon.
Oh, this one hurts. This one hurts a lot. Because if anybody who's listened to this podcast knows, I love the adventure games. But again, as I mentioned in the last debate, Baron Park is really what put him on my map.
Yep, couldn't agree more. So, Daniel, you'll be starting this argument.
Let's see which one I get.
Baron Park.
All right, so for Baron Park, again, this is the game that really put Phil Walker Harding into my map. Everything I said about Gingerbread House really works for this, and probably more so. It's a beautifully produced game with tiles with amazing art. Now, my thing with the art is I wish it was just slightly bigger, because these cutesy little bears that they put on it, you can barely see them on the polynomials. Now, again, we're going to talk about this a lot with a lot of his other games. It's more mechanistic with a theme just painted on. This one really doesn't fit that. You could put anything on this and it probably still work. It just works as a Baron Park. It's fun. You're basically building a park full of bears in a 4x4 grid, or however you want. It's just basically 4 tiles. In essence, you can lay it 4x4 or 4 long, just however you can fit your polynomials that go on top of it. And you're trying to complete your park completely. The person with the most points at the end of the game wins. And I really enjoy it. I'm like, okay, this seems simple. A mutual friend of ours bought it, and I'm like, he's like, hey, you want to try this out? We were at the game store at the time when we could do that, which soon out here would be nice. And he's like, I'm like, yeah, sure, we'll go ahead and try it. And I fell in love with that game like there is no tomorrow. It's so simple because what you're doing is you're putting these polynomials, and if you do certain well, you can pull these other ones out, which are like the bigger ones that give you the most points. So the koalas or the panda bears and stuff like that. And you're putting them out, and then, oh, I need a 1x1 to fill this. This way I can get my next part of the park out there. And once you get that next building out, then you can start overlapping. Because right now you're confined to that little square that you have. Well, now that I have the second park out there, I can start overlapping that park. And now I can get those longer ones because I can make the space fit properly. And the thing is, it leads to a lot of choices because you got to be smart. There's some unique shapes. There's some unique ways you got to actually fill your park. And the thing is, there's a certain point that you cannot fill that part of the park until it's like the last space you can fill, in essence, to complete that thing. And it's, oh my God, this game, and let's just make mention of this. It's got one of the funniest names for an expansion ever, because if you're a nostalgic movie person like I am, it's called The Bad News Bears. Like, I hate puns, but that just makes me giggle a little. But yeah, Barron Park, I do have to say this, and I mentioned it with Game Right Games 10. This by far has the worst insert in a board game I have ever seen.
Yeah, it really does. I had forgotten about it until you just brought it up right now. And you're absolutely right. This is the worst insert. And what it is, it's 3 tiles that are just kind of long that you weave together and then just jam in the box. And it creates like, it basically takes a rectangular box, bifurcates it down from opposite corners to make a large triangle, and then there's another smaller triangle on the inside of that, of splitting that other half. And all the components are square, not triangular, and none of it fits right.
Well, the thing is, I just talked about it. It's like, it's weird shaped things. You got crosses, you got L's, you got like zigzags and Z's, and like you make it triangles on the inside of the box. Like,
yeah. No, it's the worst. They just had some extra punch board, and it just made sense at the time because everything in there, it's a board and a bunch of punch board. That's all the components are. So yeah, no, I don't disagree. I adore Barron Park. Obviously, I have it right over here. I don't know if you can see that live, but you'll be able to see it on the YouTube channel. It's right next to my gingerbread house, and that's for a reason, because I do really enjoy that game. I'm not going to get into the mathematics behind it because I think that's actually really brilliant. I can talk about those later. But more so, I'm going to talk about the adventures game. And that, if you've ever grown up playing any of the point and click adventures, that is what this is. Each of them have 3 different parts or chapters, you could say, to the game. You play it over a few sessions, and each time you're moving your character to whichever spot you want to, reading the passage, sometimes bringing items to that spot to interact in certain ways. One thing I'm going to bring up, my favorite point and click that I ever played growing up was Shadowgate. I absolutely love Shadowgate. If you've ever played it, it's awesome. And one of the things I liked about it is it never took itself too seriously. It was always a little bit hokey, but then at the same time, there would be some stand-up, just funny moments. It's like, well, I'm going to give some spoilers to Shadowgate. So if you haven't played Shadowgate, mute for a minute. But that game's like 25 years old, so
it's fair game now.
Yeah, but there's one part where you have like a metal rod, and there's like a hole outside, and it's a thunderstorm. And if you put the rod in the hole, then you get electrocuted and you die because lightning hits it. And you think, well, duh, why would anybody do that? Well, of course, why would anybody do that? But it gives you the option to do it. And there are times in this game where there has been funny reveals where you just do something like, this is like a bad idea. You do that. Oh God, yeah, that was really a bad idea. And the game reminds you of that fact. That, on top of the fact that it's really an expensive game, you play it for multiple hours, and it has a narrated storyline too. The app actually can read you the passages, so you don't have to read the book. I think that's really smart. It really brings out like the theme of it. It brings it really well. My only argument is that some people might not like the themes, and I heard, and I don't know if it's true, but the third one is not as good as the other two. Some people say it's bad. I don't know. I haven't played it, but it that's okay. You know, I played one of them, and I loved that one a lot. And me and one of my best friends played it, and yeah, he loves every bit of it. And he's a big video gamer, so I feel like it has a specialized market that board
Oh yeah.
games have been able to do before, and really get down that point and click adventure because we have a lot of campaign board games and a lot of things that are sprawling, but this really does boil it down in like the simplest way you can, and it does it really well as Phil Walker Harding would. And I didn't know they could write. Like Phil Walker Harding and Matthew Dunstan is actually really funny. Like, I don't know if they wrote all the stories or if they got somebody else to write it, but like these are funny. I like them a lot, and so I enjoy it.
This is hard for me because I really like these games. I do have to say though, don't play this like with your younger kids or something like that. This is closer to PG-13 than anything else. There are some dark elements, especially in the dungeon, and you'll see it in the monochrome ink that I mentioned earlier. So just be wary of that point of thing, that it's not completely family friendly. It's not like grotesque or anything of that nature. It's just you have to be careful how if you play with the kids, because there are some darker elements in this one, or
Yep.
in both the monochrome ink in this one as well. So just bear in mind. This is tough for me because I love both of these games. I own one of them because on your recommendation, and then I showed it to some friends of mine, and that's this one, The Dungeon, and they love it too. So much so, excuse me, that we played the next one almost immediately the next week or so when we got together to play, and completed that all the way through. And yes, the third one is I haven't finished it yet. We played 2 of the 4 scenarios in the game, and it's not as fun as the other 2, I would say.
Okay, that's fair.
So I have. Go ahead.
On?
I was going to ask you the same question.
My vote is going to be for Baron Park. And first off, I think it gets ease of play. Not saying that adventure games is difficult, but it's Baron Park is almost like absurdly easy. Play style. That's it. So that I think is simpler. The production I think is better, although I like the art. Well, I'm not entirely certain, but definitely the strategy. Meaningful choice goes to Baron Park.
Yes.
And the expansions replay value I feel has that because this is the opposite of like a normal campaign or legacy game. The minimum number of plays is also the maximum number of plays for the adventure games.
In essence, yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I think Baron Park should move on. As much as I really, really dig Avenger games, it's probably one of my favorites on the list. This one and Monochrome Ink specifically. As I said, we've played through 2 of the Volcano and we haven't finished it yet. That's just saying it kind of... The thing about the Volcano Island or whatever it's called, it just kind of ends abruptly at certain points. It's like, okay, now you're done with this chapter. We didn't even do half the things we think we should have done.
Yep. Yeah, it didn't give you the option. All right.
Yeah.
Then that means Baron Park moves on. So far, no surprises here. This next one, I know you're going to argue over. Because
no. You think I don't like one of these games. I actually enjoy it. I just don't like it at 2-player.
Right. Which is how we played it. That's why and one of the games I don't like as much as the other either. We'll see which one it is. And that is Gizmos versus Archaeology, the New Expedition. And Daniel, I'll be starting this off.
You get the one you love the most.
Gizmos, yes. Marbles, great production. I'm going to specifically talk about the second edition because the only 2 differences between the first and second edition is a cardboard or a plastic tray. That's really
and honestly, if you can get the second expedition or edition over the other one, I don't know how there's still the original one out there, but if you can, get the second one because that cardboard one is. Ugh.
Yeah, and it's only like a couple bucks more. It's really there's no excuse not to get it, honestly. But yeah, so the idea of this game, Gizmos, it's an engine building game. You choose an action on your turn. You're either going to build a gizmo, or you're gonna get some marbles, or you're gonna archive some stuff, and that's about it. However, every single gizmo also falls into one of those categories. Meaning, if I'm trying to get resources, there's 4 different colors. There's yellow, blue, red, and black. Which, first off, Simon, who prints this, thank you for those colors because those are brilliant. There's no distinguishing feature between the marbles other than the color, but they are bright, vibrant, and very clear to see. I'm almost positive that someone who was completely grayscale colorblind would still be able to see the differences in the shading of those marbles.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
Simon, thank you for doing that. That's huge.
And
So-
I think a big part of that with Simon too is they did the same thing with Potion Explosions. I don't have trouble with those marbles either.
Yeah. Did Simon make Potion Explosion?
They worked with Horrible Games for it, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, but gizmos. So this is obviously one of those gizmo games. The idea is that in Potion Explosion, I'm going to give an example. When you take certain marbles, it'll make others clack together, and then you also take those, similar to like something like a Bejeweled, as you're playing like on an app. Whereas this, there's less fun mechanism in actually taking the marble, but the gizmos is where the engine comes in. So, for example, I might have like a gizmo that says when I build a red gizmo, I get to pick another marble. Cool. And I might have another marble or another gizmo that says when I take a red marble, I get to take another random marble from the top. And so on my turn, no joke, if I've already have these 2 buildings, I could build a red gizmo, which would let me get a free pick. I could pick a red marble, which would immediately queue up taking another one from the top. And having like these cool little turn breaking combos, because I might have like 4 or 5 gizmos that say when I build a red gizmo, I get everything from victory points to archiving another card to getting more resources to all of these cool fun combos, and all of them trigger because I did that. This game ramps up so quick, it works so well that it's almost ridiculous. The whole game is just finding those combo loops. Now, Daniel has an argument against it. I know you're going to bring it up, so I'll bring it up for you. You were saying that at 2 players, it doesn't feel like you have as much control over it because
The cycling, yeah.
Yeah, the way the marbles cycle, and that's fine. I totally understand that. I've played this almost exclusively 2 players. I have played at higher counts, and I found that it does play. I personally think it plays fine with 2, but I can see where you're going with that. I'm not going to discredit that whatsoever. But
yeah, my thing is like with the 2-player, it's like if you build this engine and it's working and it's firing fine, and then all of a sudden that engine is just being broke because the blues are not coming out, or someone just keeps taking all that blue and I don't have a chance for everything to cycle the way I need because there's just no blues in that thing. It doesn't cycle. Like if we're playing 3-player games, more marbles are coming out. If we're playing 4-player games or the 4-player game, more marbles are coming out. Now I have a better chance. And since it's cycled, I can't really complain. But one person could just really break whatever engine you're building. And case in point, when we played it, I had to build 2. I had this nice engine going, and then no blues were coming out, and then I had to build a completely second engine because I couldn't get marbles, and that's game break. It takes people out of the game.
Yeah. Yep, I know I should have taken it easier on you. It wasn't just that, like just by the way that my engine was working, it only benefited me to do that. I wasn't trying to be malicious, but
No, I'm not saying that. It's just the thing is like one blue would come out of that tube every time on your turn. No blues would come out anytime when I needed it to come out or for me to play and take my turn. So every turn, okay, I did all this. Okay, I did a little bit. Oh, well, maybe some blues will start coming up. And then the one blue shows up, you take it, no other blues come out. There is no cycling. Now with Potion Explosion, that's the thing, the difference between the 2. The Potion Explosion, you have a tray of like 5 different areas where the things are coming out. There's only one tray that's coming out with gizmos. And so if there's not enough cycling, your engine's not going to fire. So halfway through the game, you have to completely pivot and start building something else. And then right by then you're already out of points. You can't compete.
Yep. No, I don't disagree with that. No, I understand. And have you played this at a larger player count?
I played it at a 3-player count. And I really enjoyed it at that point.
Yeah, because that cycles it better. Yeah, oh man, there's something about this. Like I remember so many times that one of our mutual friends kept saying, "Oh, you gotta try Gizmos. Gotta try Gizmos." Like, all right.
I remember because I was getting ready to leave, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna bust this out because it was a lull at game night, and when you finally played it." And I'm like, "I can't. My rides on this are here, and I bought ice cream for her when she got there. It was my wife, and we were watching you guys playing and giggling, and I'm like, I gotta try this. Then you showed me, and then I played it again, because I had a bad taste in my mouth, and I dig this game. I really do enjoy Gizmos. I know you say I don't like it. I just, for me, its only flaw is that at 2 players, it doesn't cycle well enough. So if you had like this great engine built and then nothing's coming up on your turn or anything else you're doing and your engine's not working, then you have to pivot because it's at point too lucky.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you have no control of what's coming out of that dispensary.
Yep.
And so for me, Archaeology, the New Expedition, and this is why you said I like this game more than the other, it's just because I played this a lot. This game, again, I mentioned it, friends of ours have a pool. And so this is one of the games that we just bust out when we're taking a break or eating lunch and having a good time before we go back into the pool or whatnot. And that is Archaeology, the New Expedition. Again, very simple, very well-produced game. And this is what I'm talking about. If you're going to go cheap and just do a card game, do put your money in the card stock because this game can take up multiple plays. And it's probably the easiest game on this list to teach and learn. I would say Silver and Gold will give it its run for its money because all in case in point is you're taking a card and doing whatever it is or putting them out in front of you. Silver and Gold may be slightly easier, but I've had an easier time teaching this than Silver and Gold sometimes. What I like about it too, we talked about it with Sushi Go Party, the many variable setup opportunities based on what ruin you're going to end up getting. Is it going to be the pyramid? Is it going to be the lost ruin that has stuff that deals with the mechanism? Like sandstorms. The most recent one I played is the Lost Ruin. So every time a sandstorm comes up, it starts filling the different chambers. So when you have a map to buy cards to help put you sell to the museum. And what I also really like about this game is there's many different ways. You want to push your luck and try to hold on to those really good Pharaoh's Mask. This way you can get a nice set collection of them because they are going to score you the most points, but there's only 4 of those cards in the game. Knock yourself out. If you can get it out there, you're going to make a major point and probably win. Or you could do what I normally do and nickel and dime it. Like last game, I had 4 of the parchment in my hand. I sold 1 pot shard, picked 3 of the parchment in my hand, showed 1 pot shard, pulled up another, and boom, I had 10 points just by 1 turn. So you can nickel and dime and get your points that way. You can try to go big and get like the big points by saving up for these cards, but then you got to worry about because other players could steal cards from you based on the thief cards, or you could lose it in your hand because a sandstorm comes up, and if you've already used your tent, well, you have to discard half your cards. So I really, really like that. And when we talk about theme matching the mechanism, this does make me feel like an archaeology going out there and they're like, hey, I got to get all this stuff. And then certain things happen. You do got to worry about these from time to time in the market. You do have to worry about sandstorms coming up. You are going up against other rival archaeologists. This, for a simple card game, the theme comes out of it pretty decently well. There is some issues with it. Like if you play with the same player count, then it's going to start feeling samey because there's only certain cards that come in a 4-player game. There's only certain cards that come in a 5-player game. If you're only playing 3-player games, you're not seeing either one of those two extra decks that you could put in there. The thieving can be a little take that-y because then you're going to be like, oh, that person has no card, so I don't want to steal for him, but and such only has the 1 card. And I'm going to have to put in a pause real quick. Okay, back to where we were, though. I love archaeology. There's a lot going on for it. I have a great time with this game. I think Gizmos is the better game.
Well, I'm glad you agree. There was really so yeah. I was preparing just in case you were going to argue because there's only two arguments I have against archaeology, honestly, and that's because well they both suffer from the random as to what marbles come out versus what cards you draw. At the same time, like how you were saying, at larger player counts, the marbles get cycled more, so there's more control over that. versus the deck of cards. It doesn't matter how many players there are. You are beholden to what you draw.
Oh
So
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're getting a bunch of like masks and high value stuff, then I'm only getting pot shards. Cool, but I've only ever joined those. And I know like the counter argument would be, well, you have the market to trade. Yeah, but you can only trade value for value. So if I spend 5 turns drawing five 1 value cards and you draw 1 5 value card, that's a 4 turn advantage right there alone, just because of how it
Yeah,
works. It,
no,
it
don't get me
I
wrong.
think
I get that argument, but the thing is, I mentioned it. You can still nickel and dime. If you get 5 pot shards, that's 15 points.
yeah, but that's it though. At that point, like it's 15 points, but if you get 2 of the masks, that's a lot more.
No, it's not. It's the same amount.
Okay,
I told
so
you.
2 turns
I
versus.
played this game enough. I know 2 masks
But you
equals
know
5 pot shards.
what I mean, though, you still had a 3 turn advantage.
But here's the problem: if someone has the mask and people know they have the mask, they're their target for the thief. There is mitigation for it.
That's assuming you have the thief. Like, I mean, it's not as much mitigation as it seems, but my only real argument against the components, the art is really pretty on archaeology. I like the cardstock is really quality. The size of the tiles is what annoys me. The size of the tile, they are just slightly larger than half of the size of the box, which means that you must stack them all in one stack, because if any of them shift, normally you would take something. If you had a box that was, the size of 2 cards, you would just stack them next to each other.
Okay, your gripe is because they don't fit in the box properly, not even about the gameplay. So it's like me arguing about the tin.
Yes. Yep. That's really like the only.
So you want to hear your problem for that?
Huh.
I don't keep it in the box. It's in the photograph case. It literally could fit it. The whole game fits in that photograph case.
I keep that in the box, but I'm talking comparatively to Gizmo's. Gizmo's insert is actually really fantastic.
Okay, no, don't get me wrong. Gizmo's insert's fantastic. The rest of the game is bland. The best looking thing in it is the marbles.
They are pretty marbles. It's not offensive. It works well. I mean,
there's literally no art. It's all text. It's cards with text is the basis of the game.
There's no text on Gizmos. It's all icons.
Oh, I'm sorry, icons. Oh, I'm sorry. It's iconography heavy. But yes, I think Gizmos is the better game. As much as I like archaeology more, there's just at its core, it's just a small filler card game where you're going to spend 20, 30 minutes between either big games or doing something else, or just, hey, let me bust this out while we're having a barbecue. Gizmos is an actual game where you have to thoroughly think about what you're doing and be making smart choices. And that, I know you were like going to be like, okay, well, I'm ready to fight. And I'm like, honestly, I hate where this lies. I really love archaeology. There's no way it's going to compete with Gizmos, because there's just a lot of moving parts in Gizmos.
It's like the same argument I have with Gingerbread House. Like I absolutely adore it more, but I agree with you. It's just it's hard to go up against Sushi Go Party for a reason.
Yeah.
All right, which means Gizmos moves on, and our next and final of the quarter-final rounds is Imhotep versus Silver and Gold.
Now, this one we may have a fight.
This one we might fight, yes. And I'll be starting us off. Almost definitely we'll fight. What am I getting? Silver and Gold? All right. Silver and Gold. Worst name for a game. Amazing game. Like, I think it's like hundreds of thousands or something like that. Like some weird tagline that doesn't make any sense on it. Silver and Gold is a flip and write game where you are writing on the cards themselves. They were produced in a way that has a plastic coating on them where dry erase markers do not stick to them. It's a very important feature of the game, but it's one of the few that actually work out. Basically, every card in Silver and Gold has a map. The map is made up of cubes or squares arranged in different positions. There's some empty spaces on some of them. There are some that have like little like offshoots that are going off to the side, little peninsulas, whatever. But essentially, every turn you have some of these maps in front of you. You're working on 2 of them, each player. You flip over a card that will give you a shape. Let's say like a 2x2 square. All players draw the same shape just by marking out those X's. Very easy. You don't need to know how to draw, but you're just marking those out wherever they fit. Or you can mark in a single square anywhere. There are some extra features that you can mark off. If you mark off a coin, you have a little scorecard that you mark off a coin. When you get to a certain amount, you get a trophy for points. Standard Phil Walker Harding style, those points decrease in value over the turns as more people take them. Or if you mark off a palm tree, you get to score 1 point for that palm tree plus everyone else, every palm tree that you see in the middle row, which can be up to 4 of them, which can score you quite a few points. But that's also available for anybody else to score as well. Or finally, you can mark off an X, which there are some X's that are automatically in the tiles, which lets you put another X anywhere else on either of your 2 maps. Fun little comboing, good little things. The idea is that you want to fill in the map in its entirety, then you set it aside and take another second map tile. As you score them, they're worth a number of points equal to how many spaces there are, either 8, 10, 12, or 14, I believe. Then those points are scored at the end of the game, and some of them give you little bonus points. So like some might say for every orange card you have, you get another bonus point. Those are little seals on them. At the end of the game, you score your bonus points for the trophies, the bonus points for the seals, the points for the cards themselves, and the
palm trees.
Palm trees. Most points wins. Very simple, very fun, incredibly easy to get somebody to play it, because you flip over a shape, they're gonna know, like, oh, I have a marker. There's a shape. 3 squares in a line. Everybody's gonna figure out you put 3 squares in a line.
Very simple to get people to buy this game after they play it.
Yep. So much to the point where I'm gonna tell the story. You were accompanying me to pick up a friend from an airport, and I showed you this game when we got to El Paso.
Right? No. You showed it to me because we were having lunch that day.
Yes.
We were like, hey, we're having this lunch. And then you were like, hey, I got to go pick up this friend. I'm like, all right, I'll go with you. And we'll stop at the Game Vault in El Paso, Lindy's shop. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And I showed it to you at lunch, and you were like, where'd you get this again? I said, Game Vault, El Paso. We're going to stop there, right? Yes, sir. You tractor beamed right to it, picked it up, and said, I would like this, please. I still had my copy with me. It was brilliant how quick that was.
Cheap. That's the thing, is it's a great game for such a low cost. I think I paid less than 20 for it.
Oh yeah, it's less than 20, and now you can get it at Target oftentimes. I think it's less than $20, and honestly, Pandasaurus did a really good job of making this. It comes with 4 markers and really good quality cards, and that's all you need.
That's my
brilliant game.
Is the markers. Couldn't you give me a little eraser on it? Come on.
Yeah, that's true. They don't have erasers on it. That's a valid argument. But yeah, Silver and Gold. It's a brilliant game. Daniel, off to you. Explain why Imhotep is awesome.
Well, what's funny is I dig Silver and Gold. I like Imhotep too. I like Silver and Gold a little bit more. But I will say this about Imhotep. It is one of the best produced games on this list. And it's good, but it's not the best, honestly, and compared to today's standards, but it's still really good. There's a lot of interesting choices throughout the game because you are either selling a boat or you're collecting pieces, and you're trying to do, in all honesty, play 5 different mini games throughout the game. So you're either trying to build the obelisk the tallest, or putting the most blocks into a temple, and you do feel like you're an Egyptian builder because you're doing all these things that they do. It has 1 expansion as well, so there's that. I don't know. This is a tough one for me because this is the one I least played them out of all these games. I've only played this twice in my life since it came out. I enjoy the mess out of it. I've had a great time every time I play this. It's well produced. The cubes are very chunky, if not bland, when it comes to color, but I understand that because they're representing like marble and obsidian and stuff like that. So I understand the choices. It just, we're comparing it to games like Sushi Go, which is very colorful, and Gizmos, which is very colorful with its marbles. It's wooden blocks on little boats. The production is good. The cardboard's nice. I think the boats, they could have done a little bit better, to the point where the boats are probably the most things replaced in this game with 3D printed boats. again, when we're talking about meaningful choice, this game leads to a lot of meaningful choices. Do I collect some stones because I need a little bit more? Do I put stuff on a boat? Do I sell that boat just to screw over another player? This way I can make sure I'm going where I want to go rather than getting, okay, boom, and then it sells. So yeah, a lot of great choices. Probably my least favorite, if I had to pick a least favorite on this list, but oh my God, is it so good still? It's so simple. That's the thing. It's one of the bigger games on our list here. We've talked about a lot of the Flip and Write, the card game Archaeology, Baron Park, how simple those games are. This is a big box game that is super simple. I could teach this to non-gamers and they would still understand what's going on. So when we're talking about ease of play, I think Silver and Gold is just slightly easier, but Emotep is right there with it because it's that simple. For me, as much as I like Silver and Gold, I think Emotep is the better game just because there's a lot more thought process into this one. Because with Silver and Gold, you're just beholden to a card flip. Okay, that's what I'm doing. Your only real choice is, are you going to take one of the new cards that are in stock, or are you going to take one off the top? That's really what your choice is, or and how you're going to put your shapes out there on the board to complete cards and stuff like that. But even then, you're only informed of that when you first get your first 4 cards in your hand, choose which 2 to keep. This way you could try to build bonuses off each other. But Emotep, there's just so many choices. Do I sell the boat? Do I get more material? Okay, now how am I going to win this little mini game? How am I going to win this little mini game? And I think it's played, 6 rounds? So it's not long either.
Yeah, like 4 to 6 rounds, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's really quick too. So for one of the bigger games, I think like even with new players, this won't take more than an hour.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, it's a brilliant game. First glance, I do want to agree with you. I think ease of play goes Silver and Gold.
Mhm.
The thematic part of it, game immersion, I think goes to Imhotep, just because when you sail someone, you can sail any boat.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. There's a minimum number of cubes out to be on it, but you can sail someone else's boat into somewhere.
yep.
It's totally fine. I love that part of it. That I think
You could hate sell basically. You know how people talk about hate drafting. You could hate sell.
In no other game can you hate sail, but Imhotep you can. Production value I think is better too.
Just barely. Like I said, it's a bit bland with the cubes. I understand where it's coming from. And Silver and Gold, the cards are really nice. It's just cards. That's all it is.
But dry erase cards too.
Yeah.
It's not a common thing. So yeah, but I do have to say I think Imhotep there's more replay value, and I think there's more meaningful choices. So Imhotep I think moves on.
I agree. Now it's going to have a really hard time going up against Sushi Go Party.
That's going to be tough. Sushi Go Party versus Imhotep will be on the next round. That's right. So now we're going into the semifinals. Why don't you tell us how many votes each of those previous games got, Daniel?
So I just want to make mention about the fact that our top 4 games are moving on. So that's something that hasn't happened in a while. And so for the fan votes here, our least voted game was Adventure Games with 0. Mm-hmm. That's followed up with a Gingerbread House being eliminated at 5, as well as Archaeology. They both were in 5th with 1 vote each. And finally, Silver and Gold with 2 votes getting eliminated. So that leaves us, as we mentioned, Sushi Go Party versus Emotep and Baron Park versus Gizmos.
All right. Good deal. So now we move on to the semifinals. We're going to go Sushi Go Party versus Imhotep. Let's see which one goes on. Daniel, I'll be starting this one as well.
Alrighty, you are getting Sushi Go Party.
Okay. As much and don't get me wrong, I prefer Imhotep. I think Imhotep is a better game. But Imhotep, when broken down, really is the worker placement version of Sushi Go Party. It really is. Because and think about it, right? Like you're either putting cubes onto the board or getting more cubes. Onto the boats, getting more cubes, or sailing them to a scoring thing. each of the scoring things are very similar to the concept of like Sushi Go Party. Sushi Go Party scores a lot of the same, very similar mechanisms as Imhotep. There are some differences, like majorities and whatever. Whoever has the most gets X number of points, or grouping your cubes together. That's an interesting new way to do it. But really, what it boils down to is the fact that I think Imhotep is a more complicated version of Sushi Go Party. Sushi Go Party has a plug and play thing, but you're playing the very simplest, purest game that he has created. That's literally take a card. That's your card. That's it. That's the mechanism. Pass the cards, take a card, pass the cards, take a card. Then you've played Sushi Go Party. If you've ever picked something off of a menu, like literally going, do I want pizza or do I want chicken? Let's go pizza. You've played Sushi Go Party. That's what that is. It's like, oh, what are you going to order? Oh, well, since you ordered a salad, I'll order some soup. Okay. You're hate drafting me now. That's what you did.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, you intrinsically know how to play Sushi Go Party with that. It's simpler. It is prettier because the adorable sushi pictures are just ridiculous. It's hard to battle against it. And even though there's more expansions in Imhotep, Sushi Go Party plays up to 8 people, 2 to 8 people solidly. It's hard to argue against that.
It really is, and I have to do it. Here's the thing. I can't disagree with anything you've said. Sushi Go Party is phenomenal. Honestly, Sushi Go is a phenomenal game, but it really gets replaced because of what Party does. And Imhotep does all that in a much more complicated way, as you said. It's well produced. But when it boils down to it, you're playing 5 mini games. That's the problem. Sushi Go is a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for here? Where it fits together. Every action you take in Sushi Go, it fits thematically. Where Imhotep basically is now, it fits thematically, but you're playing 5 different mini games on there. And if you're a historical person like I am, even though it fits thematically, you're playing basically several different time periods. The obelisk was built completely different than some of the other stuff that you're doing there, like the pyramid or the monuments in the capstone. It's like, yeah, I get it. It fits thematically, but there's 5 different time periods. Cleopatra, there's like a meme that was going around. Cleopatra is closer to us in the timeline than she is to the pyramids being built. And so one of those things deals with Cleopatra's era. So it's like you're messing with the timeline in a sense. Sushi Go is more not lucky, but it's a lot more. You have to be careful if you're playing this with new players. You got to take it easy on them. Imhotep, even if you're playing with new players, you have an advantage for playing it first. But again, it's fine. They could literally hate sell you and be like, oh, I see what you're doing. You know what? I'm going to send your boat over there. You son of a... That's an easy thing to concept. Though I will say this about Imhotep, and I agree with you. I think Sushi Go Party should move on. I love Imhotep. I love Sushi Go Party. They're both great games. I think Imhotep's problem is that it lends itself more to analysis paralysis than any of the other games on this list. This is the one where it's like, do I do this? Or do I do this? Or do I do this? In fact, I played it with someone who has analysis paralysis, and it made the game a little too long than it really need to be.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. So with that being said, I think you and I are in agreement, aren't we?
Yeah.
Sushi Go. Yeah, okay. Sushi Go Party moves on.
What's funny is I actually enjoy Sushi Go Party. I actually enjoy regular Sushi Go. I'm probably one of the few people that still own the original Sushi Go because everybody replaced it with Party.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has all the same cards from Party. Why would I own both? I think I do own Sushi Go, though. I'm pretty certain I own a copy somewhere.
I'll tell you why. I'll get Sushi Go Party somewhere down the line. I still have issues with the tin, but the reason why I keep Sushi Go, it's much easier to take and travel. I could keep it in that photograph case that I said I carry it in, and I could take it to, like, if I'm at an airport, I could still play Sushi Go with some friends if I'm flying somewhere or elsewhere. Right. That's the main reason why I keep it.
That makes sense. Okay, that's fair. All right, and on to our next round: Baron Park versus Gizmos. This one hurts me.
I see where this is. This is your bracket. I know where this is probably going to end up. I see where it's going to end up. And I'm interested in this final because whoever comes out of this bracket is going to be a nice, fun game to go through.
Right. Absolutely. I'll be starting us off.
You got your baby again.
Gizmos. Okay. Gizmos. Pure combo building. It's if you like that like the engine building, quite literally, this is one of the best, most streamlined versions of that.
This is the simplest engine builder. I'll tell you that much right now. The simplest engine builder out there.
And ones that give you like a legitimate, like, I am building stuff. I am making things that affect other things and doing it in a way that seems meaningful.
Yes.
Your first turn, you know, it starts off just being really simple. It's like, oh, I'll just take a token. Oh, I'll just buy this card. Oh, I'll just do this. You know, it's really simple stuff. But when halfway through the game, you're going, okay, boom, 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 I'll do this, which lets me do this, which lets me take this, and I'll take this card and then play this and then do that. And it's not complicated. You've built it in a way where at every single turn, you know where you're going with it. You know that it's going to be that simple. You know that you're going to be able to build up from it, and you've built this creation, so you learn as you go. You don't need to know everything on the onset, which is really helpful for it. Every card, once you see it, you're like, okay, how does this work? Oh, I get it. This blue marble counts as a random. Okay, cool. That makes that easy. So I buy that, and now I have this engine. I know that I have that, and I'm going to play off of it. This is one of those games that leaves you wanting more every single time you end the game, because you're like, all right, someone ended the game, and we're doing this combo, and then, wait, can I keep going? I was about to do something amazing. And then it's like, nope, you play it again if you want to try that again, you know? And it's so rewarding in a weird, like, non-completionist way. It's phenomenal. I love that fact of it. But with that being said, there's something about Baron Park that is mathematically just absolutely incredible. I love Baron Park for how simple it is, for one, but it's not so simple that you can't have a lot of meaningful choices. And what other players do immediately affect you. So I'll let you take it away from here, but I do want to say that I think Gizmos is definitely worthy of being in the top 4 and in the top 2, but it has its bigger brothers to go against. So take it away.
And honestly, I'm just going to put it out there. I think Baron Park should move on to the next round. I'm glad I got the game. And now hear me. This is why. Again, Gizmos, as many things as you want to say about it, I think Art Production is better on Baron Park. As much as Gizmo's nice, the iconography's there. Outside the marbles, it's pretty bland, component-wise. Whereas Baron Park, there's a lot of great art in it. You look for the little nuances in each of those tiles and the different things that you see. And again, the mathing thing. We talked about it in Silver and Gold. What Phil Walker Harding likes to do is make things go down. So it's a race to get the best point total. Okay, I put the most of this out there. I can get the most points off of that. Then I get to put the little trophy in my park somewhere. And a case in point, talked about it earlier with Emotep. People are 3D printing the little trophy pieces that you could put into your park. It's the little tile. Because I'm the first one that did this. Now I can put this 4-pointer in here and stuff like that. I like stuff like that. This game has so many choices. You mentioned it. I think it wins meaningful choices too, because you got to be smart how you play this game. You got to think about what your opponents are doing as well as what you're doing, because we talked about multiplayer solitaire, and it kind of is in a sense, but you have to pay attention. Okay, he's going for that. I need to make sure I can try to get these out there before him for I can win the most points. There's just so much going on when you got meaningful choice, when you got art and production. I think those two hands down go into Baron Park. I think Gizmos is much easier to teach. I think ease of play goes to Gizmos hands down because it's a little bit more simpler. Even though you're putting your polynomials, you're taking a tile and placing it out there, the math part of it when it comes to how you're trying to figure out what you're doing out there can really hurt some people. So I think it's going to be a fight. Honestly, I'm going through the criteria right now. Art production, as I said, goes to Baron Park. Meaningful choice goes to Baron Park. Replay value, I think, goes to Baron Park.
I'm going to disagree with you on art and production. I'll explain why. Brought out the cover for a reason. This artist is somebody that you've bashed on many, many times. It's Clement Franz, and he makes almost every generic-looking Euro game. He makes Agricola and all of like.
Okay, I never argued against Agricola. I argued with the components in Agricola because your workers are freaking discs.
Yeah, but I mean, you tell me that face is better looking than the marbles and gizmos? No way.
No, I'm not talking about that face. I'm talking about the stuff in the game. The cover is there. It's going to draw you in. It's not going to draw you in. I'm talking about the little bears that you see in the tiles. I'm talking about the part making sense. Gizmos, when you get down to the nitty gritty, the two most beautiful things in Gizmos is the cardboard or the dispenser in the marbles. The actual cards themselves that actually is your engine, because you're either archiving or putting those things out there to trigger, are not that pretty. The component quality, yes, is fine, but I like the art, and I think the graphic design fits a little bit better for Barren Park. That's why I say it wins art and production. It wins 2 out of the 3 things, because
I think it wins art personally, and I think it wins components. I will give the graphic, although simpler, it is better in Barren Park, because of course the internet or my internet's unstable. The graphic design that's in Gizmos is required for it to function, because you do need that iconography. It could be a bit much, but it is very clear as to what everything is too. But I will give design to Barren Park, definitely, but I feel very strongly that art and production is better in those two.
I disagree with you with that one. I think the art, the only thing I give to Gizmos is the pieces and components because of the marbles.
I like the art better. The art on the cards,
there's hardly any art on the cards.
There is art on the cards. Each one has its own gizmo. And if you get caught up in the gameplay that you don't notice as much, but yeah, there's art on those cards, and I think it's very cool, vibrant art.
Like I said, this is subjective, so we're gonna have to call this a wash.
That's fair. All right. So, however, ease of play, Barren Park, hands down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Play, Barren Park. Replay value, also Barren Park.
Yep.
They both play the same player count. They both do that. Game immersion.
Gizmos.
I would like to come back to that. I would like to come back to game immersion.
I honestly, me personally, I give it to Gizmos.
Yeah. No, you're right. Okay.
Because you do feel like you're building an engine. You feel like, okay, I got this. They're all firing together. Barren Park, you're just laying tiles. So let's be honest. It could be anything slapped on that mechanism and it'll work.
However, meaningful choices. The random of the marbles. I know what you're thinking. You're giving them a smile. I know. I do agree with you. It would go to Barren Park, which means Barren Park does move on, but not for the same reasons you argued. So it's a winner for both of us. All right. So that means Barren Park will be up against Sushi Go Party. Daniel, how many votes did Gizmos and Imhotep get?
So moving on to our next, which one? Okay, so our last here, Imhotep was tied for 3rd place with 4 votes. In Gizmos, our #1 voted game just got eliminated. It was 6. Mind you, again, let's clarify the reason why these vote totals are low, and we've had some low ones before, but we put this up about 5 hours before we recorded because there's a lot going on right now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Couldn't agree more. All right, so our finale is going to be Sushi Go Party versus Barren Park, our top 2 seeds, highest ranked on BoardGameGeek.com. Now, this round, we do not use the Cup of Doom. We do not use the Coin of Doom. We put them away because we are just going to argue it down, break down each factor to its simplest mode, and then that's what we're going to have to choose from. When it comes to, is there any that you want to go with first? I should ask.
Ease of play, I think, goes to Sushi Go Party.
Okay. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay,
Let's break it down. First off, the familiarity with the mechanisms, we agree. Sushi Go Party. Yeah, the drafting is very simple. In a way, Baron Park is also drafting. I would almost argue that a lot of kids grow up with Tetris, and before that there was tangram shapes. So I feel like the actual like fitting squares together is a very natural thing. I'm not saying it's easier. I'm just saying that I feel like it. I would see it's very hand in hand, considering that's part of the game, and the other part is figuring out which tiles you're gonna use.
Yeah, but we're talking about familiarity when it comes to actual gameplay, and a lot more people know drafting more so.
Well, but
when it comes to like hobby gaming, because I mean, Seven Wonders, this one, that medieval one I have that I bought from you, I can't remember what it's called. Blood Rage, for that matter.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying like there's something very simple about putting those pieces together. It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle.
Well, that, and you also mentioned it. It's yourself. It's like you're picking a menu. You're like, okay, I want that. Okay, I want that.
Yeah.
If you've done that, you've played this game before.
Right, exactly. And you didn't even know you were playing it. AP prone. I feel like that would actually go to Sushi Go, which is a bad thing. Because of that very first turn where you don't know where everybody has, you're gonna go with that. It's very minute, but I think that goes to that.
Just for the people listening to this, the audio wise, as well as our Twitch followers, if you hear something, my neighbors are shooting out fireworks, even though it's July 5th.
Yep, I haven't heard anything. And then likelihood of getting to the table, that would
Sushi Go.
Yeah.
So Sushi Go wins. Easy play.
All right, let's start art and production. The art, I feel. Art, it's got to go to Sushi Go.
Sushi Go.
The adorable, yeah. Production, though.
For like the pieces and component part of it, I think Baron Park is much better. Again, we talked about it like at the top of this when we started the debate. The Sushi Go game right, I understand why they went that way to keep it low cost, but the cards are a bit flimsy.
Yeah. I do have a counter argument though. There is one gripe I have against each of the games. One is the insert in Sushi Go, which I haven't brought up yet. I like to store my game sideways, which is bad for a tin anyway, but the well is like halfway, which is great for picking out the cards. That's fine. But the soy bottles, they only fit flush with that. And so as soon as you tilt it sideways, they all just spill out. There's no containing it. That part was bad.
Oh, like Baron Park has a better insert.
It doesn't. But my counter argument for Baron Park is that the optional point tiles, like to make the game advanced, which is bonus points at the end of the game, those are tile tokens, and you're supposed to mix them up and shuffle them. It's hard to shuffle tiles. Minor gripe. Technically, you could say the same with the menu items on Sushi Go. It's hard to shuffle those. And then also the insert is pretty bad in Baron Park too. So they're a wash as far as components go.
Honestly, I agree with what you're saying here. My only issue with that is you're talking about like context-wise. You're not talking about gameplay, which is what we argue. The inserts have nothing to do with how the game plays. Now, we've seen great inserts. You've talked about it at the last podcast, Caro. You can use the box, the game inserts, to reset the timer. That's a phenomenal way to use the game. But honestly, it's not effective to the gameplay whatsoever.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay.
So then, it's 1-to-1 basically on my book for art and production. I think the components are better in Baron Park. I think the art's better in Sushi Go, which has the better graphic design.
I would have to go with Baron Park.
I'd have to agree with you. Not that I hate Sushi Go. I just think it fits better.
Design in Sushi Go though.
It's literally just cards.
Yeah. And so the art doesn't help the gameplay. Like you have to translate it, kind of. Like it's just most or least. Like it's a small minor thing, but it's enough. So art and production goes to Baron Park. Meaningful choice. Or wait, which one do you want to go next?
Let's do, because I think meaningful. I think the next one that really bounces out to me though is game immersion.
Okay. Theme matching mechanisms is definitely Sushi Go.
Yep.
Player interaction.
I think it's Sushi Go as well.
Yeah.
The hate drafting, or like, I can't believe you took that, or if you use the chopstick and steal someone else's thing.
Yep. No, I agree with that. And then, or when you use the chopsticks on the second to last turn, and then you hand somebody the single chopstick, they're like, "Oh, great, thanks." And then memorable moments, I think, falls in line. So that's Sushi Go.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is tricky. Okay. Meaningful choice. I think that's Baron Park because of the random of and so I'm going to get into this. This is why I think Baron Park gets meaningful choice. Baron Park, hands down, all the tiles are laid out. They're set in stone. The only thing that's kind of random is how the plot boards are laid out. But everything else is strategy. Most of them work out the same, just where the icons are, you choose how they work. Very simple. But what I think is absolutely brilliant is you can at most get 3 of the backhoe cards, or the tiles, which are all 5 polynomials at a time. They're each made of 5 tetrominoes, and they are all 12 combinations of a 5-piece tetromino. There is no other mathematical ways to use 5 squares and put them adjacent to create new shapes. Those are the 12, which works perfectly because at a full player count of 4 people, you each get 3. You can each get 1 of them, or you each get all 3 of them and use them all up. I think mathematically that is very smart. I love how that works, and he used the simplicity of the tiles to judge how many points they're worth, anywhere from 6 to 10 points, or 6 to 8 points. Then the tiles that are tetrominoes, which we're familiar with Tetris, those decrease in value, and then you have triominoes, dominoes, and then monominoes. A single square, I don't know what that would be, but squares. All of those mathematically are laid out in a very smart pattern. I really like how that works. Mathematically, I think it's one of the most brilliant games as far as how he created that game. Personally. That's a small minor thing, and you're probably bored to tears at this point. I apologize to all of our listeners.
Yeah, see, you're going way into depth about why you think that's a meaningful choice. I could tell you there's not 90% of gamers out there are not even thinking about it mathematically. No. They're just thinking when we go through our meaningful choices, I'm looking at this and like impacting on other player strategies, and I'm thinking hate draft is a plausible thing that you could do with Sushi Go.
Yeah, it is. It is a plausible thing, but at the same time, here's how I envision it. The reason I think that makes the most sense is because if you were really, really heavy into figuring out how am I going to get the most points per capita, you can math it out. And if you're able to work that out, which is a very legitimate strategy.
I have a problem with that. You just said it right now, mathing it out. Min-maxers will take most non-gamers like us out of it, and that is a flaw in a game.
No, that's not a flaw in the game. That would take you out of the immersion, which we've already agreed that Sushi Go.
Yes, no, but I'm saying that could be a negative in 2 of our categories, and you're like, no, it makes sense here.
It does make sense in the meaningful choice, though. Because what you do absolutely impacts the strategy of the other players, and it definitely impacts more so your long term. That there is no arbitrary choices.
In Sushi Go, there's no arbitrary choices in this game, and that's the only reason I will give it meaningful choice, because even if I could split the other 2, which I possibly could, especially when it comes to the actual draft part of it, I think Sushi Go has just a lot more. You can literally impact someone else's strategy. You just mentioned it when you give them the last chopstick that doesn't fit with anything else. You can impact their strategy on that. However, you have to be smart when you're playing Baron Park when it comes to your own strategy, which means you can't make an arbitrary choice. That's why I do think it gets meaningful choice. Right. But when you're talking about min-maxing, that is a problem with a game.
I've never found it as a problem because you can min-max in chess, and I don't think that's a flaw in chess.
That's because you don't play a lot of games with AP people.
And I'm okay with that. Like I get it. It makes it less fun, but I can't fault the game for that. I fault the experience. That's the thing. I don't like playing chess. I don't blame chess for that. I blame that I don't like playing against people who are good at chess. That's the difference. I respect chess. I don't like playing it. This it has that higher level of echelon strategy that you can use.
I get that, but
Permanent, but you can.
the thing about that is we're talking about like we're doing these debates for people for they could be informed, just like when we do the compare and contrast when we're talking about games. When you mentioned min-maxer, I bet you about 50% people are just like, I'm done, I'm not teaching this game because there's min-maxing in it.
Okay. But then they wouldn't like it as much as Sushi Go anyway.
That's true. And I don't disagree. I think there's a lot more meaningful choices, but min-maxing is a problem in a lot of games. And if it leads to people slowing the game down, and mind you, I get it, we're talking about it, but you touched the nerve with me because I have issues playing with min-maxers for that reason. They slow the game down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I will fault the game for that.
I think you and I are saying the same thing, and we're just communicating it differently. But I think we agree at the same time.
Yes, I already wrote Baron Park in meaningful choice, so that leaves us replay value.
Which I feel my initial thought is Sushi Go Party, but I don't know that that's the case.
No, it's Sushi Go Party. Yes. Now, hear me out.
Yeah.
Baron Park has one expansion. Where Sushi Go Party doesn't. Fine, it wins that part. Yep. Minimum number of plays to get the full experience. The variable setup of Sushi Go Party destroys Baron Park on that alone. In the fact the scaling, you could hold up to how many people in Sushi Go Party?
2 to 8.
And how many in Baron Park?
2 to 4.
And honestly, they play a 2 to 4, 2 to 8 almost plays exactly the same time. Yeah. Because a lot of times with Sushi Go Party, it's a draft. So you pick your card and you pass it on and you play the cards at the same time. It's real quick. I could play an 8-player game of Sushi Go Party in 45 minutes, if not shorter than that, because it goes so quickly.
Yeah, probably like a good 30 minutes, if that.
Yeah, and that's with 8 people.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. That's with 8 people. How many games could you play in 45 minutes or less with 8 people?
Werewolf.
No. One night, maybe. Not Werewolf by itself.
52 card pickup is pretty quick.
All right. But, yeah.
Well, then that Sushi Go. I agree. Does that mean that Sushi Go wins it?
Yeah, it does.
Wow, Sushi Go Party. We went straight down the line. There was no upsets whatsoever in this. That's kind of anticlimactic, wasn't it?
A bit, in all honesty. And let's just tell the people the truth. Sushi Go Party, we enjoy the game. We like the game. It's not our favorite on this list. If I had to pick a game that was your favorite on this list, it's either Baron Park or Gizmos. Those are like your top 2.
Yeah.
If I would have to pick, I'd say Gizmos would probably be your favorite just because of the more fun you get out of it.
I don't know. Yeah, they're really cool. So my top favorite is probably. That's tough because it's tied between Gingerbread House, which I really like, Gizmos, and Baron Park. It would probably be Baron Park. I think there's something so because of how straightforward, and I personally love the fact of how it's designed. I just think it's the most brilliantly designed game out of all of these. Like as weird as that sounds, okay. I think the way he did it.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What is your favorite Footwalker Harding game?
Probably Baron Park.
Now, I can't disagree with you. I really like Baron Park. My favorite on this debate is probably Archaeology, the New Expedition. It's the one I've played the most, and I've had a great time with different players and different player counts with it. But I have to say my favorite on this list is also the newest one that isn't even on this list. It was in our honorable mentions.
Okay.
When you bring in one of my favorite mechanisms and boil it down as simple as he did and made such a great game, and it might be the Cult of the New, but I think Summer Camp is probably my favorite Phil Walker Harding game as of right now. I really, really like that game.
I have not played it enough to say that yet. But I think
just that one play, and I think a big problem or a big issue with for me is because it's deck building. Deck building is probably one of my top 5 mechanics or mechanisms out there to play. If someone says, "Hey, it's a deck builder," I'm probably intrigued to play it.
Yeah, you know what the thing is? Out of all of these, Sushi Go Party is probably my least favorite.
Mine's Emotep. That's saying something because I dig Emotep. I dig it a lot.
Sushi Go is probably my lowest. I think this will be easier for me to do. Then probably Adventure Game. Then
I dig Adventure Game. It's probably middle of the pack for me when it comes to Phil Walker Harding games, just for the simple fact that the third one is really knocking the other 2 for me.
Yeah. Then my next one would probably be Cacao. Then Archaeology. No, probably Archaeology, then Cacao. Then Cloud City.
Yeah,
that's tough. Then probably Gizmos. Gingerbread House. I haven't said Silver and Gold, have I? Silver and Gold is right above Cloud City for me. Then Gingerbread House, Gizmos. Oh no, Imhotep, Gingerbread House, Gizmos, Barren Park, Summer Camp somewhere in the top 3.
So for me, if I was going to do that, my lowest game would probably be Emotep, and I dig that one. You know I do. I fell in love with it when we played at the shop.
Yep.
Then I would probably pick Gingerbread House. I like that one, but I think you and our mutual friend Dom like it a lot more than I do. Then I would say Emotep, Gingerbread House, probably Silver and Gold. As much as I enjoy it, it's a nice little filler game. This is where it gets tough with me. It's like I think I put Gizmos here just because the 2-player experience kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, but the rest of the game, like I played a 3-player game and I liked it so much more. Honestly, let's just go with my top 3 because this is going to take forever as I'm trying to figure this out. Summer Camp 1, Barren Park 2, and Archaeology, the New Expedition 3.
Wow. I thought Archaeology was your favorite, but hey, Summer Camp. What else can we say about that?
Again, it's because I love deck builders. I have so many good memories with deck builders. It's probably my second favorite mechanism out there. I think I like worker placements. Like if you did a simpler, other than like Emotep, like a simple worker placement where that is the main mechanism of the game, it's an instant buy for me right then and there, and it might jump to the top of my favorites list.
Yeah. That's why I think you liked Stone Age quite a bit, right?
I did enjoy Stone Age. I don't know why you think I hate Stone Age. I just hate the math in Stone Age.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think that's why you like Stone Age so much, because it really is a very straightforward worker placement.
Yeah, I enjoy it. But no, this has been a good one. I like this. It's always fun talking about Phil Walker Harding games.
I think I'm at the point now where I want to make a whole Phil Walker Harding shelf of just his games. I have enough, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I have 3 of his games in the photograph case box, so I can't do a whole shelf of just his games.
I have all of his bigger stuff, so it works. I'll have to do that sometime soon. But yeah, we hope the viewers at home enjoy it. This was a really fun episode for us, obviously, because we're just fanboying out on the Walker Harding games, honestly. But we had a blast doing this. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you ever want to join us filming this live, join us traditionally on Mondays, sometimes different, on twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
As well as you can find all video re-uploads on YouTube at Everyday Board Games 2020. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things that you can do to help us grow on the platform. You can subscribe to our channel if you're not. You can give a like to the video and comment down below and tell us what your thoughts on the subject, in this case being Phil Walker Harding. Do you like his games? Do you not like his games? Why and why not? As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and Podbean.
And if you ever want to contact us directly, you certainly can. If you want to say hi or give us ideas for future upcoming episodes, join us or email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
As well as you can also get in contact with us at our official Twitter account, EBG Podcast.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been Daniel.
And I've been Daniel.
And we want to thank you for tuning in to Everyday Board Games.
Have a good one.